Leadership Forum. So if you don't know me, I'm Josh Harris. I'm with Siler Area Chamber of Commerce. This is our first go at this, so there's a lot of positives for your first try at something. That means you get a lot of breathing room, you get to screw stuff up, you have very low expectations on attendance. So hopefully we do an okay job. Somebody asked me, is it going to be good? I said, I don't know, tell me at 11 o'clock. It'll be one or the other. So, but I think we got some pretty neat info lined up for you guys today. So, so what's on tap today? I'm going to start us off. We're going to talk about culture a little bit within your organization. Going to kind of dive into my personal background a little bit, some experiences that I've had and what I've learned along the way there, and then just some things that we're seeing as well on why that is important. Following that, we are glad to have Michael Smith from Chatham EDC, so Economic Development today. When I talked to Michael about it, I said, hey, let's do something a little different, okay? We know what's coming for the most part right now. Let's get into, hey, how does that happen though? Why is it important? Let's peel the layers back a little bit, because I think folks would really like to know a little bit more of the inner workings on economic development. So it's a very overarching term, but when you get into the weeds a little bit and what their staff really does, and they're very talented at what they do, it's pretty interesting stuff. So, and then to cap us off today, we have Gary Salamito, President and CEO of the NC Chamber, has joined us this morning, and he's going to kind of go through North Carolina's winning formula. So if you haven't paid attention, our state is at the top of the ranks when it comes to business. So we need to keep it there. And they're doing a big part in that and what the NC Chamber pursues in the tasks that they have at hand. So should be some good information, and they've got something coming on that's really, really big for our small business community. So that should be pretty interesting. Obviously, we've got to take time to thank our sponsors, right? So Chatham Siler City Events Manufacturing Site, big thanks there. Randolph Communications, Stephanie, hey, you wave your hand. All right, that's Stephanie, Randolph Communications. If you didn't know that, you know it now. Go talk to her, okay? Emily, CT Wilson, raise your hand, okay? CT Wilson, all right, they're based out of Durham. How'd you describe what you guys do, specifics?
We're a commercial general contractor, third generation family owned, been in Durham since the 1950s. We also have a satellite office in Greensboro, so we serve the Triad area as well.
And they do a lot of restoration on older buildings, so really cool specialty there as well. So, and then also Carissa with the Moore family, so big thank you there. And then the two at the bottom, not really like sponsors, but I want to give some shout outs there. So Southern Elegance Events, it's Patrick right here. Patrick, raise your hand. So Patrick's running our music this morning. He was our DJ for our gala at the end of last year. And I said, hey man, can you come do some music for us? He said, sure, absolutely. So always appreciate if you need a DJ or music or any kind of event stuff, that's your guy. All right. So I tell folks a lot. I know a guy that's really good at that, and he's sitting right there. And then the other is Harris Home Place Farm. That's us. My dad's here too, so raise your hand, Dad. So the reason that one is on there, your breakfast casserole this morning came from eggs from our chickens and pork from our pigs. So your breakfast was raised in Chatham County. So that's a pretty unique thing to be able to do at an event like this, and I thought that was pretty neat. So we sell meat products direct to consumer, so you can go on our website. We've got pickup locations in Cary, Sanford, Southern Pines, and you can come to the farm too. So, but anyway, that's enough of that. So let's dive into it. All right, developing a winning culture. So I coached college baseball for 4 years at Pfeiffer University. This was pretty soon after college, and does anybody want to see if you can find me in that picture there? So this is after we capped off in 2019. We were transitioning from Division II to Division III, and at that time the NCAA doesn't allow you to play in the actual postseason, so this was a little something separate. But this was in Erie, Pennsylvania. We swept through that tournament because we were a lot better than everybody else. We're very talented. So there's actually the tallest guy you see just made his major league debut the other night. But another one back there, he's pitching in AAA right now. But anyway, you might be looking through, you're like, I don't know where Josh is at. That's because I'm not in that picture. okay? I was holding the camera. All right, so that being said, there's two lessons that I learned in that time period that really stood out. And I kind of want to bring those to you before we really get going today. So the first one, be where your feet are. It's something you hear a lot in the baseball community, be where your feet are. So when we're in a place, we need to be present where we're at. We need to listen to what we're doing, take the information in. It's easy to get distracted these days, all right, very easy. So be where your feet are, pay attention where you're at, be present where you're at. The other one is control what you can control, okay? So, interesting story. The day after I took this picture, we got back to campus. I went into the office on Monday morning and learned that my position had been cut, okay? So, quite a shock when your wife is about 6 months pregnant on your insurance. Oh crap, what do I do? Out of my control though, okay? There's nothing that I had produced in order for that to happen, okay? But we have to control what we can control. So that was a lesson that I learned then that was very important, because could have wallowed in self-pity, could have done that, or we can go find a solution to it. And sometimes things work out like that, and that's how I found my way back home as athletic director Jordan Matthews. So two things there as we get started. Be where your feet are, control what you can control. All right? So culture, it's pretty overarching term, right? It can get pretty broad when we talk about culture, especially when it comes to organization. We hear it a lot. We hear lip service on, hey, you gotta have a good culture, you gotta have a good culture. But why is it important? Why is your culture important? So to me, there's three areas: retention, productivity, and quality. When we went into this year, a regime change in Washington, a lot of uncertainty with the economy. One thing I heard that I was like, that's a really good point, was retention is more important now for business than ever. And not just because of what policies may come into effect. There's other factors at play too that makes retention very, very important for our businesses. So what's the impact of retention? On average, it costs around $12,000 to replace an entry-level employee, $50,000 for a mid-level employee, and $200,000 for an executive. That's on average, so don't plug those numbers into your situation and be like, yeah, that's not right. So, but on average, that's what it costs. Okay. When you look on the flip side, high retention teams produce 21% more profitability. So when we get into retention, we can eliminate those costs of replacement, and we can increase our bottom line with profitability as well. So the impacts of retention are huge when it comes to your business or organization or anything like that. So whenever we have to go replace employees, we lose time. We have to pay costs of recruiting. We lose their productivity. You run somebody else in that's new, that doesn't know it like your previous employee did, so they have to take that time to learn, and there's costs with that. There's costs that show up, and a lot of times it's not things you're going to see on your bottom line, but that effect is there. So I thought that was pretty striking when you look at those numbers. I'm like, oh man, that's pretty big. So pretty important. Why is another reason that retention is important? If I want to take a guess before my next slide comes up. No? Okay. This is the U.S. fertility rate, reached an all-time low. All right, we ain't having babies, guys. All right, it's pretty obvious. Okay, that's not good. I'm sure you've heard that, but globally, this is an issue as well. It's an issue across the board. Why might that be an issue, and why is retention important? Well, if there's not people coming on to work, there ain't gonna be as many employees. You better hang on to the ones you got. So, it's kind of striking when you see those numbers, especially as they keep declining there. So, when we look at other factors, it's not just the economy that affects our retention. There's other pieces that are in play as well, and one of those is our birth rate. So, when we increase productivity, I really like this quote I found while I was digging for some stats, because I know everybody likes data and stats, so I did some Googling, but I came across this quote. I was like, ooh, that's really good. Employees who hit the trifecta of tenure, engagement, and talent perform 18% higher than the average employee and 35% higher than the worker who goes 0 for 3. All right? In baseball, 0 for 3 is a really bad day. Okay? You go 1 for 3, it's all right. But when you go 3 for 3, man, you come off the field, you're like, yeah, man, all right, let's go. So if we can bring those about in our employees, our productivity is going to go up tremendously. All right, and that's where, hey, what happens when productivity goes up? What's that other P word? Profitability, right? Okay, so we're going to see increases in our bottom line there. But as we look at that, global employee engagement is down. Okay, you see another dip in there. That was 2020. Okay, we all know what happened there. We ain't going to talk about it, but we're seeing a dip now again. So why are we seeing that? It's a great question. I don't know the answer to, but according to Gallup, a 2% drop in engagement costs nearly $9.6 trillion to the global economy. And what is engagement? So it's people that come to work, ready to work, they're excited, they're learning, they're engaged in what they're doing. So having our engagement up is very important along with that retention. So you see multiple factors that start playing together there as well. So what are we to do about it? All right, so it's time for a paradigm shift. So paradigm, way of thinking, mindset. So hey, I'm in this picture, okay? But this is a picture when I was coaching at Pfeiffer, okay? And let me kind of give you some background here. So when I played in college, I was a pitcher and a first baseman. I got to Pfeiffer, I took a job as a volunteer, made $0, drove from Siler City to the village of Meisenheimer every day. And then I got a chance to actually have some positions under my belt. And they were catcher and outfield. Never played either one of those. All right. So a lot of learning had to be done. So my mistake coming in, I came in like a bull in a china shop. I'm like, hey, I learned all this, and this is what we're going to do. And anybody want to guess what our players did?
Tuned you out.
They're like, nah, man, come on. So not a good start, okay? Not a good start. So that took some realization on my end. Hey, I need to learn our players. I need to learn our people. I need to learn how to communicate to them. So we kind of shifted how we think with things. All right, I shifted how I started managing our players. And the reason I picked this picture is this was in the backyard of our house. Okay, what we did, I started inviting them over for dinner. It was like, hey guys, I'll cook you dinner. Just come hang out and let's talk. And then we were able to get more buy-in there. And our questions went from, hey, we're going to do this to, hey, sit down with me. Let's plan our warm-up. What do you guys think is important? What do you guys want to do here? What are y'all feeling and seeing in games that we're struggling with? What do you see in practice? Where are we missing gaps? So in turn, that created a lot of ownership. Okay, it created ownership for them. So then they had a lot of buy-in in what was going on in our practices every day and in our games. All right, so back to the coaching terminology, transactional versus transformational. When we started, very transactional. All right, I'm coming to practice. I'm giving you drills. This is what we're going to do. You're going to perform them at practice. You're going to do them in a game. We're all going to go home. Okay? No, it didn't work. All right? We had to shift to be more transformational with our approach. Okay? So then it turned into, hey, tell me what we're going to do. Let me help you grow. Let me help you learn how to do this. And then you can almost coach yourself in that ability. And then what happens is that player ends up coaching the younger guys too. So these are a couple of my personal definitions on transactional versus transformational that I thought might relate. So transactional, I'm going to pay you to work and perform your task. Very simple, in and out, nice and clean. Transformational, I'm going to pay you to grow where your value goes beyond your task. Okay, so we build more layers to it. We build buy-in to it. We build ownership into it. And that's all well and nice, but again, we got to shift our paradigm. We got to shift the way we think about stuff. So how do we do it? And it takes intentional process. All right. So in my opinion, process is a small focused tasks that will later produce the result we desire. All right. Notice there, small focused tasks. It didn't say we're taking big shots at stuff that we're going to get big results out of. Nope. Small focused tasks. All right. Diligence. I don't know if y'all read the Bible much, but in Proverbs it talks a lot about diligence. Diligence. It's a book of wisdom. It's a very wise thing to do. Diligence is important. All right, our process is where diligence comes in. So these are not alligators. All right, in the picture, these are cows. All right, this is pasture from our farm. All right, it's kind of funny because me and Dad joke sometimes. We're like, man, they look like alligators out there because the grass is so tall. All right, we get so much biomass in there. It's like you got about Amos Moses and alligators in a swamp. Y'all ever heard that song? So, but the reason I put this up here is because this is a great display of process. Okay, our process is how we manage our cattle and how we graze them. All right, it's small tasks every day. We go moving, we put a fence up every day, we tighten them down. It's very simple, but it's very effective. And then over time, we get results like this, all right, where there's huge amounts of grass form, huge amounts of forage, and in turn, it produces a very healthy product, very tasty product, all right? The best part is we don't have any inputs either, okay? So bottom line comes out better. So when we have a solid process, we don't have to supplement it with other stuff, okay? Because we create that process that works on its own and it's very self-sustaining. But we're very intentional about what we do. Plan this out months in advance. Do it every day. It's very intentional, it's very diligent, okay? Small focused tasks that will later produce the result we desire. So think about that in your business sense. What's your process? What is your process? Can you define your process? A lot of folks can't. They think they can, but they can't. We have to be very intentional about what our process is, how we define it, and make sure we communicate that throughout our organization. So, what makes the difference in our paradigm shift? All right, flash forward a few years. Remember, lost that job, found my way back to Jordan Matthews. All right, another thing comes up that I kind of laughed at when it happened because I was like, man, if I hadn't been trained for this already. So, in the spring, one year, our soccer coach sends me an email about 2 weeks into the season, says, hey, I'm out. I'm like, what? Like, man, we got a game tonight. All right, we can't find anybody to fill it, so who's got to coach the girls' soccer team? Yep, 6'4" redneck. So, so quite the task if you know anything about Jordan Matthews. But what an experience, though, incredible. But again, I'm in a situation. I got to connect with people. I don't know what I'm doing, and there's only one way to figure it out, and that's trial by fire. So that's what we did. And I'll never forget meeting with our captains that first day, and our principal told them that. They were all like, what? Okay, that's kind of scary. So I went out there and I told the girls first day, I said, all right, girls, so I don't know anything about soccer, but I know how to win. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to win because we can create processes that win. You don't have to know strategy if you know how to create the process. All right? So what do we do here? Authenticity, a big piece. That second day, we didn't even practice, okay? We went to the weight room. You want to talk about some terrified faces, you tell high school girls soccer team they're going to the weight room, yeah, look out. But we sat and we discussed. So I told them a lot about my past, my history, how I got here, about just, peel the layers back on Coach Harris because, it is kind of intimidating when your athletic director becomes your coach. So I had to be very authentic with them on what I was doing and what we were going to do and why I believed in what we were going to do and why I believed in that process we were going to implement, okay? And then you got to go beyond the job on it, okay? It wasn't just practice every day. We won't show up to practice, all right? Talk to them during school, talk to them after practice. You start building those relationships more. You build a lot of trust going beyond the job, okay? We could talk about just soccer and just that, and that's it, and everybody goes home. But when you start, learning what really makes people tick, you gotta go beyond the job. All right, their job doesn't really get everybody excited in the morning. All right, it's just not true. Okay, so you gotta find out what does get people excited. What do they look for every day? What really motivates them? Where do they go? All right, I put build the employee on here, but we gotta build our people. Okay, it wasn't about soccer so much. Okay, it wasn't about baseball. That was the thing at Pfeiffer when we went from transactional to transformational, our conversations changed too. And it went to, hey, what are you gonna do after school? Man, what are you rooted in? All right, what provides that rock to you? So build the employee. Gotta build the employee, and you gotta have a value system. All right, what do you believe in? What are your non-negotiables in that? Because whether you believe it or not, your employees, your people in your organization, you gotta align value-wise. I mean, it's gotta work together. You can find different offshoots from there, but there are core beliefs that you gotta have within your organization that make it work and make it go, and that's what you stand by. I mean, that is what you stand on. So, the funny thing is, I had to eat my words back in that first picture. All right, so in my time at Pfeiffer, I started a Bible study within our team because our guys came to me and they were like, Coach, we want to do this because we play on Sundays and we get a chance to go to church. So we held our own church in the locker room. So we had I'll never forget it, man. But we're in Erie, Pennsylvania. We're at the hotel room day before, and it was like, I told them, I said, look guys, I could lose my job tomorrow and I'd be okay, because I know what my rock is. I know where it is. And I ate my words that next day, didn't I? So, but that left an impact on them too. I can't tell you how many text messages I got from our players after that, where they saw that example come to light. So your values have to start at the top too. You have to exemplify them. You've got to communicate them. You've got to believe in them. So we build the values, we build the employee, we build the person. So as we look at our culture as an organization, what a lot of folks don't think about is the impact that our organizational culture can have on our community. All right, and that's where we can really become economic leaders, in the sense of how can we use our businesses to lead our community. And this is what really gets me excited. So when we look at that, there's one piece that I see that we need to work on, and that is our families. We have to build our families in our community, and we need to use our businesses to do that. Okay? You look at birth rate, families fix that problem. You work at senior care, families fix that problem. Child care, families help mightily with that problem, right? Right? So when we're able to do that, we plug a lot of holes that we're seeing in our society right now, and we can use our businesses to do that. When we have strong businesses that have strong organizational values, and we have people that build their employees and build their culture, all of a sudden that builds that more. So this picture here, what you don't see that really makes it work is the soul. That's where it all happens. All right, our process is not based around cows, it's based around our soul. That's where we build it at. So it's little stuff that helps build that. Where we have microbes, we have all this other stuff that's working in there that grows that and produces that stuff. So the metaphor I thought of with this is we can take our business and kind of lay it out over this, where, you know, your employees are the grass, your businesses are the cows, you as the manager is the grazer that's managing it and moving it, your product is what comes off at the end of the shelf. So what really makes it go is the soul. So when you think of your employees in that way, we've got to build that foundation underneath them that's going to make them last, it's going to make them strong, it's going to make them withstand, make them be resilient, it's going to make them really produce a lot better, and you got to find out what's in their soul that makes them click, right? So, intentional processes again. We learn, we implement intentional processes, and we have a big impact and make a big difference. So as we review, all right, retention is vital, right? It's very costly to replace employees. Our profitability can go up when we perform well. All right, our birth rate down, our workforce is coming on, our engagement is down. One thing I missed on, okay? All those folks I coached are your workforce now, all right? They are 20 to 30 years old. You know what they really responded to? Being listened to and having ownership in it. Like, that's what makes them go, all right? Don't lose sight of that, all right? Those are young people. I know our young folks get a bad rap sometimes, but they're a lot sharper than we give them credit for. All right? So we got to shift our thinking, we got to create intentional processes, and we got to utilize our businesses to be an authentic influence in our community. All right? So organizational culture, it's huge, it's important, and it can make a huge difference. But now I'll be quiet. So, all right. So next up,